Welcome to the inaugural episode of Unfiltered Solopreneur. I'm Nikhil Vesh, your host, the founder and CEO of BoostSolo. And today I'm really excited to have with us Marvina Case, the tenacious and gritty Marvina Case, who is the founder and CEO of Sweet Spot, which is a one-stop shop for the technology needs for small businesses. So Marvina, thank you for being my first guest and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, and I'm honored to be your first guest.
Well, let's dive right in. So let me ask you, can you walk me through the journey of how and why you decided to become a solopreneur?
I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I never knew what I was going to do, which is kind of odd because my first real job was technically entrepreneurship. I was a caterer in college because I lost my college scholarship and I needed to have a way to be able to pay for school. So I knew I could cook. So I started my own business and it paid my way through college. But after that, I decided I'm going to work for someone. I have never been one to believe in what most people call the American dream. I believe in the American reality, and it's the reality you make. But I needed to learn how to become an entrepreneur. I needed to cut my teeth, per se. I needed to learn from those that were already successful so that I could do it on my own. So I worked for a lot of people, and I learned a lot. And then when I got to a place where I was able to see how I could help other people do what I do and be successful, that's when the true journey began.
I love that because the advice I often give young people is go work for somebody before you go work for yourself, because there's so much to learn and there's so much to also understand what you don't want to do or how you don't want to be, right? So
Exactly.
Could you talk a little bit about the challenges? So you did spend some time in the corporate world. Can you talk a little bit about the challenges you encountered in terms of making the transition to solopreneurship?
It really wasn't hard for me. And I know a lot of people want to hear I struggled here and I did this, but it was more of a natural transition for me. And the reason being was I already had that mindset of this is what I want to do. But I knew that you can't automatically become an Olympic swimmer. You have to practice, you need to learn, you need coaches. So for me, working for other people was just part of the journey to get to where I am now. So it was very natural, very easy to do. I learned from the people around me, and you can learn as much from the CEO as you can from the janitor. In fact, one of the most important things in my life was learning from a janitor. He happened to be a millionaire, but I didn't know it at the time. I had always been successful in business. I'd always been number one. It just came natural to me. And I'm a type A personality. So I have that grit. It's what I want. I want to be the best. And it was the only time in my life that I struggled. I actually really struggled. I wasn't successful. And I was working a ridiculous amount of hours, much like many entrepreneurs do, because you want to be successful. Well, I have always had that drive in me no matter what. It doesn't matter if I'm working for someone or if I'm working for myself. I want to be successful. I was working for a company called monster.com. If you don't know what that is, it's where you go online and look for a job. And this was, I'm going to date myself, 2005. And it was one of it was really technically my second real job. I was only at the other one for about a year, and then I got laid off due to issues related to the .com era. We'll put it like that. And I was working for this company, monster.com, and I wasn't successful. I started going to work really early. I was working really late. The janitor said, "What do you do for a living?" I said, "I'm a sales rep, and I just don't know. I can't be successful. I don't know what's going on. I'm number one all the time. I'm working really hard. I'm following. I did everything that they said. I took excellent notes in class on what to do, and I am failing. And I cannot fail because it's not in me." And he said, "Well, who are you calling?" And I'm like, business owners, people, blue collar business owners. And I can't reach anybody. And I'm doing everything they said, and it's not working. And he's casually sweeping the floor, and he goes, "What time are you calling?" And I looked at him like he was crazy. And I said, "Business hours, duh." And he says, "That's why you're not reaching anyone. They're business owners, and they work business hours, and they're working during the hours that business people work. They don't want to talk to you. You're not making the money. You're not a customer." You need to call before and you need to call after. They'll answer the phone and probably think you're their kid or their wife or their husband or whatever it may be, and that's your foot in the door. I took his advice and I went from being one of the lowest level sales reps to being number one in the country with all of their locations. They actually
Wow.
put my face on a poster. And it was that moment when I knew for sure that always take advice and don't judge a book by its cover. Look at the person for what they can teach you, not for what they look like. And that has served me so well throughout my career.
That's an amazing story. I love that story. And you're absolutely right. It's like most people would not, there's certain places people go typically to find advice, and you don't always get the best advice from the places you think you will. And, it can be unexpected like that. I absolutely love that story. But tell me something. You come across as extremely confident, and that's something that people sort of build over time in their solopreneur journey. So, where and how did you find your confidence?
From a single slap when I was 5 years old.
Wow,
Um,
tell me more about
and
that.
I know that for some people that sounds horrible to say, but my dad slapped me and he slapped my sister at the same time. We both hit the ground. And when I got up, I had a different point of view. So you could say he slapped the sense into me, not out of me. What actually happened was we wanted these cute little blue suede shoes, and I had just watched a cartoon at a movie theater where one of the characters had like blue suede shoes, so that's what I wanted, being a 5 year old. And the shoes were too small. He knew they were too small when he bought them, but the guy let us walk out the store with the shoes on, and he saw us hobbling in our shoes. He turned around and slapped us both, and we both went down on the ground. Got up, made us walk in there, and then he told us to tell the man what had happened and that the shoes were too small, and we demanded our money back, and we got another pair of shoes. And he told me something there that really changed my mind on what being an entrepreneur is, what being a confident person was, and what my purpose was. He said, God made you perfect. God does not make mistakes. Don't ever be ashamed of the way God made you because you're unique. And from that point on, a star was born. Confidence. And it makes a big difference in life. Knowing that you have value and have an internal value that was basically slapped into me has changed my life. I can walk in the room and people will want to talk to me because when I walk in, I'm happy, I'm confident, and I walk in like the Queen of England because I was raised to know that I am special, I am unique, and I should be happy because I am me. I'm not a cookie cutter person.
Yeah, and you're proud of it. I mean, that's a crazy story. I know they used to call it tough love, right? Now I think things are a little
Now they
different.
call it abuse, but it
Yeah.
wasn't abusive. I'm not messed up from it, but I'm a little older. For an entrepreneur, though some entrepreneurs don't start until they're in their 50s, and I'm not there. So, but I did start my journey a little bit later because, again, I don't think that, at least for me, I wasn't ready to start at 22.
Right.
Could I have done something? Yes, I ran a successful catering business, but that's a little bit different than running a corporation, than having 7 different companies under your belt. So I needed to cut my teeth, and I give the same advice to everyone as far as that goes. Don't rush into anything. Take the time to feel comfort, take the time to feel confident, and take the time to have the cash to be able to support what you're doing.
Yeah, that's really valuable advice because a lot of people sort of dive head first. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that if you sort of have a plan and you have an idea. But I mean, for most people, it's better to have, I would say, have a side hustle before you start. So let me ask you: was there you said there wasn't like an aha moment, but it seems like you knew when you knew you weren't ready. So how did you know you were ready? At what point were there certain things in the corporate world that just you had reached a point where it didn't you didn't want to do it anymore, or what was the impetus?
I don't do anything I don't want to do. That's just who
Right.
I am. But there was a point when I couldn't learn anymore from the people who were teaching me. And when I felt that I had more of an expertise in an area than the people that were supposed to be training me,
Yeah.
that's when I knew it was time to make an exit. And I got to that point about 3 years into my career at Dell Federal, and I said, they're not teaching me anything. I'm not growing. And if I'm not growing, I'm dying. And I need something that's going to challenge me and make me grow. It had become second nature to me. I could be successful. I could be the number one person on the federal team with no effort. There's no benefit in that. There's no joy. There's no challenge. And I like to be challenged. So the moment that challenge leaves my spirit is the moment that I start to die.
That makes a lot of sense, and I've seen that trait. I think that's a very common trait in solopreneurs, right? Of that sort of that hunger and that desire to keep ensuring that their learning curve is going up and doesn't stagnate or go down. So I imagine you lying on a beach drinking mai tais is not your idea of retirement, right?
I could be lying on a
Sure.
beach drinking Mai Tais, but I would still be working. My brain doesn't shut off. And I think that I would love to be able to quote unquote relax, but I don't think I would enjoy it, just to tell you the truth. I enjoy thinking, I enjoy coming up with a new way of doing something. If I'm lying on a beach drinking Mai Tais, I'm looking at, well, what can we do to make this more profitable? What if this Mai Tai did this? What if there was a way for it to get out to the water? My brain is just going to be doing that. I never shut off.
And that makes you happy though, right? It doesn't stress you out.
Work is fun
Okay.
for me.
Yeah.
I don't consider it work. I don't, like I said, I don't do anything I don't want to do. So if work was boring, if work wasn't challenging, if work was uneventful, I wouldn't do it because that's not like you only have one life. I want to enjoy what I do. I want to be happy, and I can't be happy doing something that doesn't challenge me, doesn't keep me enthralled, and isn't something that I feel is giving back or doing greater good for society.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and that's the advice we always give young people is like find follow your passion. So let me ask you, how did you find your passion with Sweet Spot and Talarai, and how did you figure out that's what the audience you wanted to serve, and that's what you wanted to do?
My mama said is I've always been someone that wanted to help fix a problem. And for me, everything is a problem that I have not solved yet. So everything is math. And I like math a lot. Hence why I went to school for engineering because I like math. So I knew from an early age that I like to solve problems. Any problem, I want to find a better way of doing it or a real solution. I don't want to put a band aid on it, I want to solve it. So I knew that no matter what I did, it had to be something that had a payoff and it had an answer to it. And that's how I found out that this is what I want to do because Sweet Spot allows me to help other people with their passions and dreams and to get them where they want to be and to help myself along the way. So everybody wins, everyone levels up, everyone gets ahead. There's a profit and success for everyone. So that's how I knew. I knew it when I found something that excited me mentally, physically, and financially.
That's great, and it comes through when you talk about it. So the joy of what you do, clearly you do love it. So now, one thing you've mentioned, and you actually mentioned this on your website and your bio too, is you've gone through some significant personal and professional challenges, right? You've talked about overcoming cancer. Can you talk about those experiences and how they've shaped your approach to business, life, and leadership?
A lot of people look at travesties and disease and sexual assault as negatives. Not that sexual assault is a positive, but your perspective on what happens to you and how you deal with it will determine the outcomes going forward. So I think things happen for a reason. And all throughout my life, that has shown to be true. From being sexually assaulted, I ended up with a beautiful child. From having cancer, I ended up to helping assist with coming up a new way of treating the type of cancer that I have. So travesty is not necessarily travesty. It's a travesty in your mind if you look at it that way. If you see everything as a negative and not possible, impossible instead of I'm possible, you're never going to move ahead. You get stuck. You get in a moat. You get depressed. For me, I innovate. I'm going to figure it out. The only thing that dark is scared of is light. So I look at every situation of how can I bring light to this? I was raped. That rape allowed me to have a beautiful child. That rape allowed me to still live. That rape allowed me to help other women get through what they think is an impossible situation. And everything is possible. And I'm a firm believer in the Bible and God. And for me, it is my center point. It is my peace. It is the one thing in life that I know has the answer to every question that I have. And that's how I live my life. That's my philosophy on business. And that's how I work with that mindset.
That's amazing. And thank you, Marvina, for being so honest and sharing your story. I appreciate that. And it's not, I mean, it's a great skill to have, in terms of being able to overcome challenges. Obviously, I don't wish any of those things on anyone, but um, tell me, what is your source of strength? You mentioned God, but what else? Your family or?
My strength comes from the fact that all things are possible through God. I have a family because of God. I have children because of God. I have life today because of my faith in God. Faith is eternal, it's part of my soul. And I owe everything that I have to my faith in God, because had I not been faithful and followed the words of the good book, I wouldn't still be here. So for me, it is the ultimate authority on business. It is the ultimate authority on life. And every answer to every question I've ever had, I've found within Scripture.
Let me ask you. Every solopreneur has a very unique story. Now, obviously, you just shared a crazy story with us, and really honestly. So, can you tell me how your personal story has sort of impacted your business and brand? How do you look at that? How do you bring those two things together?
I see people for what they could be, not for what they are. I see people for their passion, not for their looks. I see people for their ambition, not for their education. So it has allowed me to look beyond the book cover of the book and look into the pages and get to know people before I pass judgment. That has been the one thing that having the experiences in life that I have taught me. Again, my greatest success came from getting advice from a janitor, not from someone with a PhD, someone with a high school, probably GED, but he made himself a millionaire. So I know that money doesn't make the man, man doesn't make the money either. But grit, belief, faith, whether that be in God, within yourself, or Mother Nature, it changes things. So I tell people this all the time, regardless if you believe in God or don't, it's a good book. It's a book that will give you advice, and it has everything in it that you can think of. And all of my philosophies, all of my ways of doing business, all of being a servant leader has come from reading the Bible. My brand is me. I'm not a good liar, so I just don't do it. And so my brand is, that's basically what I'm selling. And no matter what people say, they're selling themselves. If it's your brand, it is you. So I'm selling myself, helping other people get to where they want to be. And the honesty and truth of that, they see it when they work with me. They know what I am, they know what I'm about, and they know that that is my goal, to see them excel. I offer a hand up, not a handout. And I think it comes across pretty good in everything that I do. I don't try to make everything polished and perfect. I try to make it honest and real so that people know that what you see is what you get.
Yeah, that you just defined a great brand, right? Authenticity to where basically who you are, what you are on your sleeve. So you mentioned you run seven. You run seven companies, or Sweet Spot consists of seven companies. That's a lot of responsibility professionally. You also have a full family life. So how do you balance those two things, your family and professional responsibilities?
I delegate. It's amazing. If you hire quality people and you pay them well and you treat them with respect, they do their jobs. And it helps a lot when people do their jobs. So I delegate. And I'd be lying if I said I wasn't I have to be involved in everything. I do want to know what's going on. I am a bit of a control freak being a type A personality. But I take the time to build a proper foundation, regardless if that's a house, regardless if that's a personal relationship or a professional one. I don't hire people based on their degrees. I know my mother, as an educator, would probably be upset with that particular comment, but I hire people based on their abilities and where I think they can go. So someone can have a high school diploma, but if I see that grit in them and I see that desire to be successful, I will spend the time on them to train them to get them to where they need to be to get me to where I need to be. It is a win-win situation. So that's basically what we try to do. At my company, we try to help people get to their pinnacle, whatever that pinnacle may be. And then when they get there, we say, pick another, do something else. What's your next goal? Because people do get in ruts and they get comfortable. And I like being disrupted and a little bit uncomfortable all the time. And that's my goal, to keep everybody thinking so they will learn and grow.
I love that. And it clearly sounds like that you also, I love your hiring philosophy too, because most people will sort of look for a round peg, I mean square peg, square hole, but and hire the same sort of person who's done the same sort of job every time. But you're sort of looking for curiosity and people who are interested in sort of learning, right?
And to answer your question on family, it's not
Yeah.
difficult to my family. Why am I working? I'm not working because I need to work. I'm working because I want to leave my children something. I want to give my husband something. I have little personal goals for myself. So my family is always first and foremost. It is my order of importance is God, family, country. So everything I do has that mindset to it. So that's my goal. It's always about my family. My greatest achievement in life is my children.
Wow.
They are my resume. They are the reason I wake up every morning. They are the reason that I sometimes don't go to bed at night. I want them to grow. I want them to be the best, whatever they can be. I want them to be wonderful children of God, and I want them to be happy and healthy. And I want them to impact the world, whether that be with a child, whether it be with a cure to a disease, or whether it be dropping the person off from a Uber ride to provide the cure to the disease. Whatever you decide to do in life, be the best that you can be. And that is my goal, to help people be the best that they can be and to be the best me that I can be.
Well, it sounds like your kids have a great role model, so I think they'll be fine. So
I try, but I give them, they give me a report card, and I'm the one to put that in place. How is mom doing? Because mom doesn't know. Mom knows how she thinks she's doing, but I want your feedback. You tell me what I'm doing wrong. How can I be a better mother to you? Sometimes it's a little hurtful.
I could imagine.
Yeah, sometimes it's a little hurtful. Well, you could be home more, mom. You could spend a little bit more time with me on the weekend by myself as opposed to me and my sister. Whatever that may be, I try to give my children what they need, not necessarily what they want. But if I can give them their wants and their needs within reason, I will always do it, because what is the purpose of life? To me, it's to grow. And how do you grow? You make a bud. That's what a child is. You blossom. So I'm blossoming a better version of me. So they're always at the forefront of everything I do.
That's great. I love. I've heard a lot of people talk about getting 360 feedback from customers, from employees, but I've never heard anybody getting a report card from their children. I love that.
You should. I personally think everyone should ask how they're doing. The problem
True.
is all of us wouldn't like the answers, but we need to know those answers so our children don't end up in therapy 20 years later because we didn't give them what they needed in order to grow and to move past whatever trauma or issue they were dealing with.
I think that's a great tip. Little more hurtful, but saves a lot of money in therapy later down the road.
And they won't put you in a nursing home.
We hope. Yeah. So let me ask you then: what are you currently focused on in your business? You're running 7 companies. You're obviously you're global. What's next?
What's next is to help other people find their generational wealth, to grow more crops, to plant more seeds, to help people build their own doors so they can walk through them. Because I think so many people, especially in this country, have this mindset that, oh no, I'm a woman. Oh no, I'm over 40. Oh no, I don't have a college degree. Oh no, I'm short. Oh no, I'm fat. Oh no, I'm skinny. Whatever it may be, they have a reason for not being successful. But the only reason for not being successful is to not to try. And I want to ensure that everyone knows that they have a mechanism to try and that someone is there to mentor them and help them through the tough times and help them to success, whatever that success may be. Somebody may want to be a wife and mother. And to me, I'm very impressed with that because it's the hardest job that you will ever have. And it is a job. It's an honor, but it's also a job, and you have responsibilities, and those responsibilities have consequences if you don't fulfill them. So for me, it is to help people be the best people they can be. My little people who are not so little now, but at 13 and 15, but there's still a lot for them to learn, and there's still a lot for me to learn. And I let them know, mommy doesn't have the answers to everything, but maybe we can figure this out together. You have to empower people. So I guess my goal in life is to continue to be relevant and empower others to change, even when I'm not around.
That's amazing. It reminds me of something my father once said, which is like, there are no bad jobs, just jobs done badly, right? So you have to be
Exactly.
passionate about everything you
Whatever
do.
you do it the best that you can. I mean, people are like, well, if the world changed tomorrow and we had World War III and the only thing you could do was wash clothes, I said I would be the best clothes washer on the planet, and people would walk miles to have me wash their clothes because they would be folded to military standards and they would be spotless because I am that person. So you can be successful with anything if you put your mind to it. Nothing that people have, whatever topical characteristic or background that they think is preventing them from being successful, it's not. The only thing that prevents success is your inability to see yourself successful.
And try, like you said, right?
Yeah, you have to try. And failure is a good thing. Failure
Yeah.
teaches you what not to do.
So let me ask you then, you've sort of touched on this a little bit, but more pointedly, what's the legacy you want to leave behind?
I guess the legacy simply is do or do not. There is no try from Star Wars. I want people to realize that success is something that comes from within. It's grit. It's who you are. It's what you do. It's not how you do it, it's what you do. If you do your best at it, you're still successful, even if you fail. So what I want is for me to leave the world a better place than what I came into it as. My favorite quote is about a tree. A society is great when men plant trees for which they will never sit under the shade. That's what I want. I want to plant trees that will never affect me personally, but will affect generations. So I want to grow some sequoias and make sure it's giving a lot of shade to a lot of people so that they can flourish and grow and plant more trees.
That's amazing. That's a great. Well, that's a great legacy to leave behind. Now, is there anything else, Marvina, that you want to share with our listeners that we haven't covered?
I guess the one thing that I would want to share with everyone is simply you're possible, you're capable, you're amazing, you're great. You can do anything you put your mind to that you really want to do, but you have to believe in yourself. All those little Disney cartoons and all those little sayings saying believe in yourself, it's true. Uh, I came from a background that most people would use as an excuse. I am a cyclops. I make fun of myself. One of my companies is Chocolate Cyclops Construction. And I enjoy the fact that with all of the things I technically have is what most people would consider a negative or a drawback, they have always served me well and propelled me to greatness. So don't look at yourself about what is wrong with you. Look at yourself for what is right and what is unique and what you can use that ability in order to take yourself to the next level.
That's wonderful advice. And you might have actually sort of jumped my last question, which is, if you could offer one piece of advice to someone wanting to start their solopreneur journey, what would you tell them?
Non-religious people might not like this, but I would tell them to read the Bible because it has served me so well. It has got me through difficult times. It has taught me how to handle situations with grace and confidence. And it has taught me how to be forgiving and when it's time not to turn the other cheek. So I would say take the time, read the good book, and learn from it and apply it to your life.
I think there's a business idea there. The Bible for solopreneurs, an app version of all the lessons that you can get for life and business. So that's great. So one fun thing I like to do at the end is just like a quick fire round. So I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions and just throw out instinctively what comes to your mind. So
Sure.
what's your spirit animal as a solopreneur?
I'm a human. Homo sapien.
Okay. Describe your ideal workday in 3 words.
Fun, fierce, and fruitful.
Love that. What's the strangest place you've ever taken a business call?
The toilet.
What's the one thing most people don't know about you?
Most people don't know that I'm blind in one eye, and I'm technically growing out of myself because I have a form of giganticism. Acromegaly is what it's actually called, the adult version of giantism. They just think I'm tall. I always like to say I'm the most attractive deformed person you'll ever meet.
You are fierce. If your business had a theme song, what would it be?
I would probably say Dido is the artist, and I'm trying to think. I want to be the hunter again, is what it's called.
That's great. Well, Marvina, it's been wonderful and lovely chatting with you. Thank you so much for just your candor, your honesty, and I loved the conversation that we had. And I think you've shared a lot of wisdom for wannabe or potential solopreneurs or even people who are on this path. So thank you for that.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.